Good morning, everybody. You got Lady Hippy in this morning. I have seen some things this morning on the telly. I'll tell you what. Now, this people don't always just want to talk about stuff. See, this is the same thing I did before. Give me a sec. Sorry about that. I didn't feel like restarting everything, so just kind of fast forward over that part. I got love music and the Mighty Yellow Roses, of course, my Texas Roses. I've been trying to angle the cameras on both of these, so I'm not doing that tennis thing back and forth. But I really, the one on my new Acer Chromebook that Robert bought me has a much better picture. My other Chromebook is a Hewlett Packard, and it's not, I think it's 2 years old, might be going on third year. Probably because he bought it for me because my other laptop would not do the government part of what you had to do to go through the VA to get your prescriptions and all that using that or having the doctor call you during the pandemic. So I love this part. I just do. They were showing all the different plagues that had been going on this morning. So I saw all that. I was like, okay, it's not just me. I mean, what? Yeah, it's not just me. So we're all seeing these things that are going on. I say that they finally suspended UNRWA, which is the UN sending aid and relief to Palestine, which they've been doing for years. And I think they said we had a budget for them for like 2 billion a year or something for them to do this. And of course, that's the money they use to build those tunnels and buy all those weapons. Cheers. I love my coffee. So I thought, okay, what's up new this time? Unfortunately, there's really not that much new under the sun. Then again, we're talking about the plagues, which I found fairly interesting. Because I tend to watch that while I'm running around in the mornings, having coffee, getting things straightened out from the night before. Because I swear I have these little dwarves, gnomes. Well, most people call them cats that screw up everything at night. I mean, literally, the rugs are not where they were. These are not lightweight rugs. They're just all over the house. And I used to sleep very lightly. I didn't hear nothing. Since Robert had put security at the home about 9 years ago, I always have a weapon to hand, of course. But I didn't sleep before he put that security system on for me because that's he was gone all the time, and so I'd hear any noise, a cricket. I'm up and armed and looking for somebody to shoot. So we thought, okay, it won't be so bad because he'll be home. And it's much better now that he's at home. It's good to see him getting some rest and all. I'm sure he's going stir crazy by now because the weather's been horrible. And he's used to it being that way, but he doesn't have to now. There's this cold thing, or I still call it the China plague. It's, China 2.0. Because we do. We go up, we feel pretty good. And it's as if our bodies, go, oh, you're stupid. And then you're back to where you started from and pulling out the cold remedies. And, you know, I could go ahead probably and make a note of going down to the VA, and I haven't done that because, again, I don't want them to institute these new things that they had done already 2 years ago. And if you ask me, they're gearing up for this. And it put a lot of mom and pop shops right out the doorway. Um, some people lost everything during that. Some people literally did not leave their homes. I mean, I got to go to Walmart. I was good with that, but a lot of people aren't really good with that. And it was just a grocery store. Thank God, because I'd have been broke in a month. So I only had to get groceries. And my grandson was living with us at that time. He wouldn't have been, but everybody had to shelter and quarantine in place. And his little sister, of course, she wasn't, but I think around 9 then. And we didn't want her to catch every Tom, Dick, and Harry, so to speak, because none of us knew what this was about. So he stayed up in the apartment in the adjoining, which is supposed to be my actual office, which we still have yet to get to. We still haven't picked up the debris out there. We gotta have chainsaw. Every time I go out to feed the cats, I get another piece of uh, board of the greenhouse and stack it over here. Trying a little bit at a time to get something done because, well, I'm not supposed to carry any weight. And I don't understand doctors because you can't tell a woman she cannot do anything. Don't do anything over 25 pounds. No, my vacuum weighs 50 pounds, and that's before you use it. Shoot, anybody ever carry a mop and a buck water? I mean, a bucket of mop, a mop and that's pretty funny. Actually, yes, I have carried buckets of mop water, and they don't weigh 25 pounds; they weigh 50, and you have to have them. So I love that. I've got the little cedar spin, put in there, hit the foot pedal, and it spins all the extra water. I love that. And I have white tile with white, semi-white. Yeah, it's pretty white most of the time. I couldn't pick one for that either. But it's kind of hard to clean. So I used to spray it all down and work it out with a brush till it was white. Now I just put a little bleach over top of it, hit it with the pine saw. So yes, I have decidedly become lazy. There's something in that word that when they said retirement that I went, okay, I'm done. But I'm never bored. I always have something I can do. Most of the time, it's stuff I need to do, but I don't go in that direction. I go over here and do what I want to do. So that didn't help, right? I'm trying to use my uh, vapor more. Robert has allowed me to have those little cigarillos occasionally, but I don't want to backslide so much that I'll be smoking again. And I love those because I only take a couple of hits off one and I set it down and it goes out. So when I get one, they'll last me a while. And I think I'm on my last one now that hasn't been opened. So it's time to cut back before I have the DTs. I wondered if anybody else was thinking of seeing some of the things that I have seen lately. I was wondering, had anyone out there seen the pyramid? It was an upside down pyramid at night over the top of the Pentagon. I saw this footage last year. Beginning of, show of hands. Okay, yeah, I saw that. It was filmed by two different people that were on the expressway, and I can tell you, you can't get real close to the Pentagon, but you can see it really well from the highways. Yeah, because I was out there for a while. Boy, is that a nightmare! Don't ever try to drive in that city. Robert would take a truck in that city. I wouldn't. I got on the train or the bus or whatever. I would have walked. There was no way I was taking a car. You had to pay like a couple $1,000s to keep a car. I mean, because you had to keep it somewhere. So if you had to park it on the curb, it was so much. If you had it in an underground garage, it was double that, and so forth and so on. You can afford to have a car. I couldn't believe what they was. No. So they were both. It turned out, incidentally, on the Pentagon, upside down, and it was like 100 times bigger than the Pentagon. But it's over the top of the. They couldn't say they didn't see this shit. Okay, I'm just saying you can't make this up. These guys both posted it, I believe, to Instagram last year. And it turned out that they were both students of photography and film there at the college. And so they put nothing. I didn't hear nothing. No word, no, nobody come up and said, did you see that spaceship that was shaped like a pyramid hanging over the Pentagon? It got millions of views. That's why I said I don't know if anyone in the audience today and live chats on if there's anything you want to do or throw a heart in, a like, any of those things. I need to remind y'all it is for entertainment purposes only. Yes, that's right, folks. I will be here all week. Run. So I'm like, okay, that's something to talk about there. I haven't seen any camels floating by this week, but it's early in the week. Everybody knows about the fact that you send aid to a country that is supposed to buy food, build schools, water plants. Never happens. It never happens. That money just disappears. And nobody saw what was happening. I got to sign four things just to get a package from UPS. And they brought it from Atlanta. Okay. I got to give up a birth certificate, my driver's license. What's wrong with y'all? You're handing out $2 billion and you don't know where the heck it is. And that's their excuse this time. Yeah, that they didn't realize that the terrorists were taking this stuff and building tunnels. $2 billion a year. That's from us, from the U.S. I don't recall voting on that in any election, or I certainly would have stepped out and said, no, I don't want you to take my taxes to begin with, because you ain't supposed to even touch a wage, period. That was started by Roosevelt, World War II, and it was supposed to have ended when the war ended. Of course, they just added more stuff. I kept wondering why my dad was so angry. He used to say that the mob had hung up their guns, put on ties, and went to D.C. And Tim didn't get it. That's pretty naive for however well schooled I was for certain things. For life, I was very naive. And, he would say this kind of thing, and I was like, dude, and he served in the Navy during World War II. He's slamming the military and the government. Turned out he had reason to. They knew that the Germans were running NASA. They knew that they had Bob Brown out there designing rockets, and he was good at that. He used to hit the hell out of London constantly, hardly missed. Did anybody hear? What am I doing here? Sorry, gang. For a second, I thought, oh, my last one's going. They keep changing the vapor systems all the time, and I managed to keep. Now I told you. I'm sorry again. That was another cat. That was Tasman. He wants to see why I'm on TV. So it's okay. I'm gonna have to shoot you with this if you don't get that. So I'm thinking about using this one, and I'll keep that one in the can because they're both there. I did see, like I said, some pretty interesting videos today at my usual gang. Um, Little just wild things like the pyramid floating over the Pentagon that got the 40 million views and nobody said nothing. It's just, yeah, okay, different day, another dollar that they're going to take. People say, oh, it's not so bad. They're not taxing us. Okay, they tax you on food. They tax you on gas. They tax you on state. They tax you on city. They tax you on county. They have added a second death tax. I mean, so why would anybody want to leave anybody anything? Because whatever they paid it off at, that person now has to pay taxes, death taxes, twice on the amount that it's worth, not the fact that it's paid off, but the amount that it would go if someone had to buy it. You just gotta love the government. I love it. I really, you can't make this stuff up. I give a shout out to my peoples today, trying to remember a few things here and there. Now, again, if this is for entertainment purposes only, I'm going to be here all week. Hit that like, tickle that little bell, and subscribe. That subscription is free. You can end it at any time, but it gives you access to the, the YouTube channel is mine, and they have algorithms, and I don't do math. That's why they make calculus. I don't do math. So, of course, I'm trying to figure all this out as I go along, literally. There are podcasters like me that just get up they'll talk about what's going on, what they've seen, what interests them. And I prefer doing that too, as they put it, dropping a video and letting you see the video and then ask what you think. If you've seen a video, and you probably have seen some of those videos, say something to me in the comments. We'll throw some of those out there. Right now, it's anything and everything. And I have yet to just settle on a time for the channel. And like I said, the algorithms, and I love that word, they want those to go to a certain level. And then you can keep your free channel. And ladies and gentlemen, I am a retired veteran of the Army. I have a child and two full-grown, nearly grandchildren, some old, and I have to have that for free because you don't make money from YouTube. You can make money from when I say people donate, you become a Patreon where you do separate podcasts that are just for that audience and then your regular podcast. Or different little things and sell merchandise and stuff like that. I like the Y files. They are like red circle with the WF. You should go there if you haven't been there before. And it's a guy named AJ. That's what he calls himself. Then there's a bowl and it's got a little goldfish swimming in it. And they call him Hecklefish. I love that. I mean, if you got to do something, you had a brand, and they got the big, aluminum hat over the bowl that Hecklefish is in. I love that thing, and he's so funny. I'm pretty sure he does both the voices, but I laugh a lot when I'm watching him. Excuse me, but he will drop in the videos and then speak after it or speak alongside of it. Some of them have the video in it, they have the picture in a picture, so that while you're watching the video, you could also see them. Casper site does that a lot, but even they've stopped pretty much doing it that way. And Ben just is like me, about like this, and then he'll say he's got a video from King Frostmere or from Twin Paranormal, or wherever it's from, and they'll show that. And of course, if you're going to put them up, but you please go see and like them. Same with me. If I put something up there that I thought was that interesting, and other people liked it as well, don't just watch it and not say nothing. I mean, because they got to have those algorithms right. So I've been watching Ben since he only had, I think, 2 or 3 thousand viewers, and then he was shooting for 10,000, and he passed 50,000 this week. So I was really happy to see that for him, and his wife and children as well. He has another job he takes care of, and he said he's also opened up a second channel. They really do a lot of work. He said not easy to do. It just looks like we're just sitting up here, missing Johnny Carson. Mm, that's not really how it works. You have to do this, you have to do that, you got to go through. Now, since I usually do a live one, I've gotten really lazy, so I'll do a live one, and then I'm not spending 4 hours going, well, that joke wasn't that funny, or whatever. That one really needed a better date or something. And there I see it's my Serenity, and there went Pixie across the top of the couch. We have cats. It's like living in a freaking circus. I mean, everything will be fine. I get up and I get everything done. And as you can see, I'm going to start calling her Speedy Gonzalez after the wonderful cartoon that I'm sure they don't have up anymore because I'm sure they would say that was racist. I love that cartoon. And Yosemite Sam. And of course, there's Bugs Bunny. Killed a rabbit. I'm going to move this one. I don't even know why. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to try to pick a topic here that everybody wants us to talk about. You can't do it when you're sitting up here live. You cannot think in your head, well, what was that topic I was going to discuss? And of course, it's about the same thing every morning when you just look at the weather and so forth. And there's fires here, there's tornadoes here, there's earthquakes over there's volcanoes over here, there's pestilence here, there's never anything good happening anymore in the morning. And I don't, as I've said before, I don't go to the American political stations because they stopped being news channels many, many years ago, like 20 years ago. And all they are political channels. That's all you'll see. They don't even come in and go, oh, there was 3 earthquakes in, Oklahoma at an 8.7 or whatever. No, they're not even going to cover that after the commercial. So, at first I enjoyed streaming because I could, and we still have many free channels on here, too, that freebie. Unfortunately, most of them are showing shows from 1984, but it's free. So I tend to stay with YouTube. if I'm watching. And I do have my favorites, and usually my favorites are the ones that are doing, the Shadow Man series that day. And if you haven't heard of the Shadow Man, I think I've described him before. It's a being it looks like a human form, but it's like it swallows any light. It's darker than dark. Because I've seen people film it, and I call them peekaboos, but whatever they're doing, they want people to see them. They know there's a camera in their hand, and I call them peekaboos. They keep doing that around the corner, and somebody's home, suddenly they hear knockings and stuff going on. They don't know what's going on. They get up the next morning, the chairs are all moved. Oh, this stuff is happening. They don't understand what's going on. Then they'll hear knocking, open the door, and there's nothing there. They'll be watching TV, and suddenly they'll turn TV off to hear better. And there's two people sitting on the sofa. There's nobody there but the lady and her dogs. And there's something sitting next to her. Several of them I seen. There was one on the airplane, I think I mentioned before. This thing kept peeking out and around. It was, I guess, in a section anyway. It was a gallery maybe in front of it, but it was still peeking. And the guy screams because he finally, and I watched this video a lot. It's featured by different of them. And it's, this thing is, like I said, humanoid, but darker than dark. All this guy had was the flashlight from his phone. So this thing kept doing this until it knew it saw it. The guy's screaming and running off the plane. So I don't know what those things are, what they're all about, but we're getting a whole heck of a lot of them. At first, I thought it was because the technology was there and we could catch it better. And I don't think that's the case now. I think something else happened. Um, I'm also one of those that remembers that things have changed up. Like it's Jiff, not Jiffy. The Mandela effect is what it is. Oh my word, I'm about to kill a cat. I see my Kit Kat. He's a big one. He's up on top. I had to save his life twice. And now they're fighting. And this is what I'm getting into fury of. I would spray these cats down, but I don't have. They might as well take a bath because they get to where they don't care if you spray them. They're going to do what they're doing. So I've gotten to where I don't want to clean all the water up, so I just usually go over and get them up. At the moment, Kent, and that's his perch. And they started doing that because our big cat thing went to the ceiling. We've had two of them. They've torn slapped to bits. So to take them out. And things like that have been going on at my house. But there's all these different things that people are catching nowadays. And again, they have a phone, pictures, cameras, all this type of stuff. And so I was like, this, at first I thought that's what it was. We were capable of doing more, catching it, sending it live. I mean, and there's a whole list of stories I could talk about that one. I never thought one of the Bible stories could ever happen because of the uh, way they worded it would be that the world could see them live. And at that time, you couldn't do that. Of course, at that time, we still believed in the moon landings. Jackie Gleason. The honeymooners back. Wow, send you to the moon. There'd be 4 organizations after that place. They shut that nowadays. It would have been all over but the crime. So there's so much paranormal that's going on nowadays. You've got the ring cameras. You've got your own camera in your hand all the time. Um, you've got constantly you've got something to record with or whatever. And yet those people they'll keep doing that until it knows you've seen them, until you jump or you go, and they know they're on camera looking dead at the camera. But there's not you can't see anything. It's just black. And literally, I've seen it outside. Footage taken outside, and you can still see this thing. Um, and it's dark outside. You can still see things. This thing is darker than dark, and it's the wildest looking thing. And there's many that have paranormal activity has started in their homes. And at first they're disbelieving, they're despairing because they don't know what to do, and they have children and maybe sunk their last dollar into that home. So what are they supposed to do? So they look around, they try to find out what this is, and they set up cameras, and then they see this thing. I've seen them panning around, not knowing why the refrigerator door is opening, but they've decided to leave and go get the keys. Meanwhile, one of them is filming the activity. I saw one that just the whole house, and I mean, I blinked, and the whole house had blown up. Everything, pillows, chairs, everything in the cupboards was all over the place. In like a second, it took me to blink. So that one, I'd be running and throwing the match behind me because I would never step foot in there again. I'm saying that the activity is ramped up that much, and it's not just the black shadow people, or like I said, I call them people those because they're always peekabooing until you see them. One woman was looking to see what it was going on in her backyard. She's out there. She's got a little bit tiny. I love the little tiny flashlights. That's fun. But what are they expected to find with that thing? It goes out this far, and it's like this. It's just a little beam. You can't say nothing but that. I couldn't get in the house with my keys if that was what I was using for a flashlight. So they're looking, but I'll be blessed if they don't pick it up. It'll peek out from behind the door, and you can see it. And it's not like the caster or the one who's taking the film has seen it. So they go back in the house and they're looking through it and they're going, because they didn't see it when they filmed it. They did not notice it until they went back through it to look at it. This happens a lot. There's a lot of people out there now that are doing a lot in the paranormal field. And I know I've studied this since I was 9, so I'm not going to say how long ago that was, but yeah, I have studied this a long, long time. Um, at first, it was only the Warrens, Ed Marie Warren. And bless her, Maureen left us a few years ago, and her husband Ed had passed about a decade before. But them, and I also attribute TAPS. It was called TAPS. And they were a couple of guys that worked for Roto-Rooter. They had both had paranormal experiences. So they bought used vans from work, painted them black, and put TAPS up there, which was something paranormal, something. And they were on TV for nearly 20 years, and it was called the Ghost Hunters. And now I see these people, they're out there, they have all kinds of stuff. The new SLS, the Kinect camera, is the one I like the best if they know they're running into activity because it maps out a stick person. And I've seen this used and it works very well. You'll see it standing on the wall, standing on a person's shoulder who just said, my whole body has gone cold over here. I've seen people pass out. I've seen them shaking. I mean, there's a lot going on out here. And we can document it nowadays. So people can't just say, no, I don't believe in ghosts. There's, I don't see how anyway. I mean, they could, but I don't know how they could believe what they were saying because there's billions of clues available to them. There's not just a few clues. There is billions. And just the 21st century alone, which is freaking me out because now we're in 24 years into the 21st century. I never thought I'd get out of the 20th alive. It's a good thing I left DC, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I can tell it's really old because I actually have to work at this one. I mean, I think I better charge it. I think that's what's going on with it. But at the same time, I was hoping people would get back to me and let me know how it's going. I really need those likes. Come on, my people on Facebook, wake up, hit a button. It's not hard. Come on, it's not rocket science. I need some members. So we've gone through the paranormal thing, and not quite. I touch upon it here and there and there and there and here and there. There's a whole lot of strange stuff going on that even I have never ever seen. Especially that rake thing. People seem to be running into that thing. I won't watch the movie. I don't like The Exorcist. I watched parts of it, and I found it so offensively evil that I wouldn't. I did. I just turned it off. I don't like the slasher movies, the evil movies. The nun kills everybody kind of movies. I don't allow that in my house, especially in the past 20 years when I see people moving into brand new homes and they're doing their people call it a noisy ghost, a poltergeist. I don't think so. They can't all be poltergeists. And the stuff that I've seen happening, one guy kept hearing a knock, and he went to this door and to the basement, and behind him, beautiful furniture, a white table, and white and natural wood look to the chairs, and they were 8 chairs. This was the big dining room table. So he comes through the kitchen, he goes through the door, and he opens the door, and you hear this, kind of noise. And he turns. He hadn't even shut the door yet. He turns, and every one of those chairs are sitting everywhere on top of this thing. And there's no way you could, and they're still sitting there. There's no way they should have been able to get them in the positions they were found in, nor should they still be standing there like that. And it didn't take a split second for it to happen. So, what the heck is up with that? Okay, it's not a ghost, and that's not a poltergeist. Whatever that was never human. So, that's when, again, I would have to just run out and throw a match behind it because I don't know what people do. I keep smudge, I keep holy oil, and, I have a rosary on. But at the same time, these people have tried these things and it's made situations worse in many cases. So it's not something you can just go, oh, I can take care of that. Hold my Bible. No, it doesn't work that way either. I can't say why, but it doesn't. So, we wouldn't know about these things if it worked. People wouldn't be out there on TV crying because they don't think anyone will believe them, bless their hearts. There's another show I watched, and it's been a little while. I hadn't watched it with Amy and Steve, but in any event, you see where I'm going with that. So you've got all these new things going on, and the other thing I don't understand is why nobody has said, "Why are you here? You died 420 years ago." And I mean, sometimes these psychics go with them, and they'll get the whole name, death, and all that. So especially the one for overseas in Britain, and I can't remember his name now offhand, but they'll have usually a psychic with them or a medium, however you want to put them. And so they get information. And they've got these necromancy apps on your phone, and you can ask. I love that too. That, oh, do you think we should ask a question? Like they can't hear them whispering, that really. So they go, yeah, go ahead and ask him who's here, how many people are here. And before it gets to the question, it's not just however many people are in there. Some of them are funny. One woman got jerked out of the bed. I can't remember where she was investigating, but the guy did believe it. One of the friends. There was like 6 people in there. So she gets up. She's dusted off. They all leave the room for a minute. They calm her down. They go back in. But this time, this guy who's so skeptical says, "I'm standing over there. I'm going to go on the bed." He's walked over. He's got to the bed, and it flings this guy. He didn't even get to the bed or on the bed, but he's in full view of the camera, and it slaps him up against the wall and down the wall, around the floor. When they left that room, he believed. Let me tell you, he was running so fast. He ran over 2 women getting out of that room. The women weren't even screaming. He's screaming and running like a girl. I've seen that happen many times with ghost hunters. It's like, run, dude, run. In some cases, you're yelling at them. I am on the telly. Get out now. Because they don't have at that. A lot of them don't use the connect, so they don't. They're talking and seeing nothing. They can just see actions. A lot of them bring a Ouija board. Who in God's name brings a Ouija board to a paranormal haunting? And it's kind of people that have a long way to go and much to learn. This that thing ain't gonna help you. It's gonna make it worse. And I feel for the poor people who lived there because it was bad enough before. Now they're going with the Ouija. I'm like, what in God's name? Who told you this was a good way to go? Because it's not a good way to go. They'll be, but I find that humorous. They don't know what they're talking to, what it looks like. If it's from the realm of the dark or the realm of the light, if why are these people here? Why are they a ghost? What is the black shadow? These are the kinds that I would like to hear back on and see if anyone had any ideas themselves. What's the other one that I saw that was so funny? I thought I would remember it, but I didn't get a lot of it. I only saw one little clip, so I'll let that be for the time being. Yes, I am still sitting at the bar. Like I said, you see part of me. I'm actually kind of at the corner end of the bar. It's way down. I love the bar. And I like all the changes Robert's put in with the hardwood floors. And we got rid of the ugly color paint. No offense to anybody. And he picked a beautiful blue, which I had picked the blue and ordered it, but then it turned out they didn't have it. So when he went to pick it up, he had to pick another color. But he did pick one that was just about the same as the one I wanted. Let's see, it's gotten quiet behind me. For some reason, Robert bought a new Roku. But for some reason, it's always, if it's on YouTube, and I generally, if I'm online, I will go ahead and switch it to YouTube and put it on music just to have something in the background. And every 6 to 10 minutes, it stops and says, "Do you want to sign in now?" I'm like, you know, I have all this stuff linked out. What's going on with that? The other thing is the Google Doc. I saw a woman, that was another one I saw. Um, and she, usually it's TikTok. I don't know much about TikTok. I have a Google Doc that my son bought me for Christmas. She had a Google system that was like Siri. Uh, Kind of like that. It would talk and do all these things, but she would have it playing music because she liked to hear music like me. But apparently, when she slept, she liked music. And sometimes it'll make you get up and go, "What?" You're not talking to it. You're supposed to be able to say, the "hey" part first and all that. And my grandson can attest to it. Even my husband has heard it. It'll come on and say something you weren't talking about. You didn't ask it. Did you know? And you're like, "What the heck? What is that thing doing?" And nobody wants to go check. No, it's okay. It's not doing it. But she got awakened by the sound of what she thought was a little Asian girl saying, "Hello, hello, hello." So she said to whatever system it was, Google, to stop all music and everything. Instead, it got worse. The girl, whatever it was, sounded like a girl to her, and it was going to do this. It was going to kill her. It was going to, this girl was getting scared, and she lived on her own, and she's probably in her 20s. So she says she calls the police because she doesn't know where to turn to. She doesn't know what's going on. And this thing's just, you know, like it's going to come and murder her, whoever's talking through it. And so she wants to document it. So she calls the police. They never show up. I mean, they never showed up. She did she call them back? We don't know. She didn't say. But I was also wondering if anybody else out there is having those problems. Like I said, we'll be sitting down or we'll be watching a movie or we'll be talking or whatever, and suddenly the dial will go off and say a bunch of stuff. We don't know what the heck's going on. We don't know what it's talking about. We just know it's talking and it ain't supposed to be. One of the channel things I am interested in also because my son saw one in my home in the kitchen and in his middle 20s at the time and ran in to where I was and, was just trembling from head to foot trying to tell me what he had seen. And I didn't know about the shadow people is what they're being called now. I hadn't heard of those, believe it or not. And I have studied since I was 9. When my adopted father's brother was killed in a motor accident, that he wouldn't talk about. But my uncle Bobby did appear to me that at the exact same time that he died on the table in the hospital and they declared him dead. And I don't know if it's because my father got angry that his brother appeared to me instead of him. I don't know. He was such a great guy. He was so funny. He always had, 50-cent piece for the girls. He didn't call us the adopted kids. That was always fun. Everybody, where's the adopted girls? I'm like, you've been here 15 years. What do you? Actually, I only had like 7, 8 years there. So because we kept getting thrown in and out of foster homes and back out into the orphanage with the nuns. The nuns, though, that's a funny story. Yeah, you loved nuns back then. We really loved those rulers. Dropped those kids off after we became. I mean, this was also the terrible thing. We were getting smaller. We were getting older. And even as foster kids and going through the process of being adopted, when we were dropped off, we had the dress we had on. And in one little suitcase, we had an extra dress piece. I think it's some underwear. So we had no clothes. This is Adoption is not an easy thing, and these people were extremely poor. But that's why they ended up on the Parade magazine because the government paid them a check for each child until each child was 18. And then we moved from the apartment to the new house because they could now pay for it. And I'm glad they got to do that. They were willing to open their arms and welcome two girls in their home, even though they did not have a lot of money. Um, but these were people that would have been grandparent age, basically, because they've been through the wars, depression, you know. So they were not young. They had a child, a boy that they had adopted that was their nephew. And he wanted a playmate. He wanted they said, a stepsister of some kind. And they talked to him about it, and they got me and my sister because it turns out that when we were young, I wouldn't leave her side, and if I didn't know where she was, I would just have fits until somebody hit me with Thorazine or whatever. So it was, you have to take both the kids, and it worked out pretty well. I can't say it was awful. Neither of Actually, no one in the family went to any of my graduations. I'm talking high school, college, army. uh, I would call for Europe, and back then we was called a Watts line. So you had to wait in line for like an hour and a half or whatever, and you had 3 minutes. That was all the time you had. You had 3 minutes, and this is for those who could just pick up a phone and call. We didn't have cell phones back then. Our cameras, you take pictures, you send them off for a month. They charge you $400 for them because there was one that actually you could see, and the rest were blank. That's what I love best. Unfortunately, I never remember to download the pictures off my phone, and then Robert's buying me a new phone. So I began to study these shadow things after my son, and it happened then because I tore out to the house to, get my little weapons and go back up in there. And this is a big old house, 100 years old. Uh, we had taken it over because Robert's mother had gotten very ill. Unfortunately, she had passed away, so uh, we had the house. We were making repairs and doing all this. And it's almost paid off and all that. It's just another story. So but my son is not a coward in any way, shape, form, or fashion. He's always scared me his whole life. He's kind of a daredevil kid, and he doesn't back down. I think he gets that from mom. He has the red hair, uh, like my father's is uh, kind of like grayish, mousy, kind of brown. I don't know how to describe it. In any event, he has my hair. Well, he did. He shaves his head now, like everybody else who's. I don't know what it is with them, but they seem to be going balder faster than when I was growing up. My dad, even when he passed, had a full head of hair. I have no idea what could be different about that. But if my kid was scared, this was something I needed to pay attention to. So I've been all this time. I still have no answers. Um, Amy in that show, I can't think of the name, but she had said that they were from another dimension, and one that if they managed to get a human being pulled into, you would die. They didn't. They could come to our dimension, whatever they want to call it, and it wouldn't hurt them. But if they put a human in to their dimension, it would kill them. I've seen videos many times now in the past 10 years or so of something picking up somebody's foot and just dragging them down the hall. I've seen him pick somebody up from a bed until his head was the only thing on the bed. He was that hard sleeper. And however they did this just was one thing. They had to be huge. They had to be very tall. Because this kid was like 6'5". I mean, he was a definite basketball player. But they had this kid all the way up in the air. I've seen paranormal investigators go in, especially the Russian boys. Tim Morozov is a good one to look for, and the other is Dark Ghost. I think their other show is Nerve Paranormal, NERV. But I've seen both of them attacked on various, and these kids, they don't wait. They carry a flashlight. They have a lot going on. They've got cameras in every room. They got stat cams. They got GoPros. They got their own handheld cameras. Now, so this is taken from many angles. This isn't something that they could just CGI in. I don't believe a minute of that. I've seen them knock them down. I've seen them drag around the floor. I've seen them held up in the air with their hands trying to let go, and then their hands let go, and then it's played out. And you're like, oh my god, and finally it'll drop them, and and they don't run. They calmly. That's what I like. They don't run. They calmly take everything, put it back where it was, with their equipment, and then leave. If they even do that, I've seen them investigate longer. I've seen them actually, and usually it's just one. They don't usually uh, go and hunt, as I call it, together. But there's a couple of them where they have hooked up and they've gone together. But they didn't run, and they were attacked. The two videos that I saw of them, they did go together. And these homes are like out in Russia in the middle of God knows where. I mean, the caribou don't go there. So they're out there by themselves, and they will clean up the whole place, put the windows back, and I mean they will do a lot of work, They finally set up all their stuff, but I think that's so they familiarize themselves because all the time the lights go out, and I'm thinking, this is not a good thing, and then they'll have the candles, and all you gotta do is, you know. Then I saw Tim Morrisov draw a salt circle. This was stupid. It was just stupid. He's got his shotgun now loaded with rock salt. This guy's been attacked a couple times, and so he draws his circle around, and he's got a chair in the middle, and he's saying, "You can't come across the circle." And I'm like. Just put a circle of salt around. Yes, he could. I mean, So then you're hearing things. You're hearing knocking on the mirror. You're hearing a scratching that's from the inside of this mirror. It's on the outside, it's on the inside. We actually saw that particular mirror explode outward from something coming through. And so it's as if he's taunting this thing. So he's got his shotgun. And he gets up from the chair and he's got his camera. And, I don't know how he's going to shoot a shotgun with one arm, but he's got them both. He needed them both. And he's walking around this little circle going and saying things, who are you, and all that. He also, I think he might have had the Ouija board in there. Those two will use the Ouija. Well, Dark Ghost won't, but Tim Morrisov was. I don't know if he still does, but in any event, what I mean? You can't get across the circle. You can't get around. Suddenly, he sets his shotgun down because he hears noises and he wants to feel better. And like I said, he's trying to do this holding two things. So he set the shotgun down. And I said, oh, you shouldn't have done that. He had all these static cameras. I was like, oh, he shouldn't have set that one down. He gonna need that one. Because you could tell it was not a good thing. I'll put it that way. It wasn't from the realm of the angels. And so I had stopped laughing at this point, thinking, do you realize, I bet your circle is broken in two places, or when you was pouring the salt, it just stepped into the circle before you finished it. And it turned out I was pretty much right. It's knocking him down, it's throwing him around, and then his weapon comes up right in his face. You can't see nothing. There's nothing holding this. But that shotgun came out pointed straight at his face. And by that point, he knew that he himself had already crossed the circle several times. And he was like, and it ended well. The thing went out of energy, or it decided to not go any further because it dropped the weapon. That time, Tim Morozov got out. He did not stop to get his equipment till the next morning. Now, both of them also carry enough equipment that they can, and I've seen them in the snow. It's always snowing. It's always 15 feet of it. It's like Siberia. But I've seen them do that. And I saw Dark Ghost make his own uh, shelter and stuff. So, because these homes that they were investigating were so bad with the paranormal industry, they didn't want to stay in there. They would set up their equipment and stuff in there. And they would make whatever they could put together. And it was really nice, actually. And put the rest of their equipment in with them and watch it from outside. Morozov has like a camper thing uh, for his cars new. So I don't know if he designed that or had it designed or if they actually have one. But so they don't actually have to stay in, but they do. And I've always said to get out, after the first thing comes. One time they threw a knife and it came, his hair moved. And this was a butcher knife. This thing is like an 8-inch blade, and it just scared them and stuck like that far into the wall. So these things are not harmless. They aren't getting worse. We are getting more proven, but at the same time, we get more questions than answers. So if there's anyone that wants to talk about that, throw that out there. We'll drop a couple of videos on it. Um, see, is there anything else I want to take? Because my time's almost up. My timer's up here. And I try not to bore everybody for longer than an hour. It's hard to stand still after an hour. I know I can't do usually 10 minutes. And there's goes Pixie again. We also have the new can I mentioned, I think, the last time I was up here, which is another story. I have lots of stories. I did too. So like I'm one of those people. I don't want to plagiarize, and I don't exactly have uh, a targeted author to set out and say, okay, this is what the channel is, or this is what the channel is. Not yet. I may change my mind, but I left mine completely open, and I do my podcast like a few others do, live, and just talking to people, which you can't say. So you have to be a little loopy, I think, to do this. So I also think that it's better for me to understand what my audience wants to see or wants to talk about before I put that down as carved in granite. So at this point, I just get open and do my day and talk to y'all for about an hour, and then I go and do absolutely as little as I can do. So if you see me, please like. They love those numbers. I don't know how long I'm going to have to ask that, but I reckon a while. After I get 1,000 people, I get to buy merchandise that will be targeted to my audience and to what the channel represents. So right now, like I said, it's anything and everything because there's so much out there. I've spoken nearly an hour, and I was only talking about a little fringe of the paranormal. I would love to speak to anybody about anything at any time. If I don't get back to you right now, it's just because I'm not near any of my equipment and I don't realize you sent me anything to talk about. But I promise you are all very much appreciated, all of you. And I am very ramped up about this because I think it's such a wonderful thing to be able to touch people that you can't ever meet in any other fashion or way. And I don't have to go and fly to Turkestan to see those ruins. I'm very old and tired. I just pull them up. It's not hot. It's not cold. You got your own stuff going on. I love the 21st century. The Jetsons had it right. But I think I'm going to have to get ready to get off. And as you can see, I'm doing two systems here, especially for the live chat, because otherwise I may not catch all of that. But usually I do, and I get back to you. I want everybody out there to know you are appreciated very much either way. You're welcome to see and watch this at any time you would like, if I still have a house left, because we have cats. Go in peace, everyone. God bless.